Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is African Musing. So today I wanted to talk about women hating men, or rather the way women just talk about men when they talk about the grievances they've had toward maybe a particular man, or when they talk about certain pathologies that you see among men. I want to talk about just the rhetoric women use. The first story happened a few years ago, more than 10 years ago. I was living in another country, and I had an experience where I was walking, and some young boys, they began to glare at me and, just sort of say some things to me. But, in this country, this happened frequently, so I was used to it, so I would just ignore it. And anyway, I was ignoring it, and I just kept on walking. And as I was walking by, and as they were glaring at me, a car drove by, and so this all happened at the same time, right? They're glaring at me, I'm walking, a car drives by. And then all of a sudden the car stops, and it stops and it reverses. It reverses back to me. And there's this man, and I think he's married, he had his family in the car. So his wife and maybe like 2 kids in the car, right? And then he says to me, he winds down his window and he says to me, "Excuse me, miss," right? "Excuse me, miss, are these men bothering you?" I was really shocked because this had never happened to me before. So I was like, "Oh no, I'm fine. They're not bothering me." Because anyway, they're across the street from me. But I was so touched, because this had never happened before. In this country I lived in, whenever they knew, just from the way I looked, they obviously knew I wasn't from that country. And if you're not from that country, they sort of wouldn't support you against their own, even if their own was doing the wrong thing, right? So for this man to stop and just ask, "Hey, I hope these guys are not bothering you," he was actually willing to do something about it. I was really touched, and it made me feel happy. Now, fast forward 2 or 3 years later, right? And I'm in a taxi, I paid my money, and now I asked the conductor, "Please, can I have my change back?" And he's like, "No, you can't." Like, he said, "No, the amount you gave me is the correct amount." And I knew that no, he owed me a certain amount of change because the price hadn't changed. At least as far as I knew, this was the price, right? And I was like, no, because also they would also try to cheat foreigners in the taxis, tell them the wrong price, jerk up the price, so they could get more money off of foreigners, because they figured that the foreigners didn't know how much the taxi fare cost and all. So anyways, and I remember I turned to some of the people who were sitting next to me. I was like, "Did the price increase?" And they all kept quiet. Like they turned their eyes away from me. Like they didn't want to look at me. They didn't want to like stand up for the truth, because it would be standing against their own. And so anyways, eventually I did get my change, but I was very upset. And I went back home, and on the tip of my tongue, I wanted to say, all these people from this country, they are all like this. They all behave this way. They're all cheats. They're all, just cowards. They're all, fakers. They're all, they're all like this bad behavior. They're all like that. And I really wanted to say that. Those words wanted to come out of my mouth. I was upset. I was hurt. I was angry, right? But for some reason, anytime the words, "they are all like this," the word "all," when it tried to come out of my mouth, the memory of that man, that husband, that father that stopped and asked me, "Hey, miss, I hope these guys are not bothering you," it would intrude. It would intrude in my memory, and it would come up. The memory would come up, and the word "all" couldn't come up. It couldn't come out of my mouth, because I knew that wasn't true. They were not all like that. Everyone from that country are not all like that. And also, okay, now you may wonder, what does this have to do with anything? Sometimes it's a word, no matter how small it is, it can change the entire meaning of a sentence. For example, a few weeks ago, I was going through Twitter, and at this time, some Nigerian men were talking about how a few years ago, Nigerian women were like insulting Nigerian men on Twitter. They were accused, calling all of them like really nasty names and all, because I think something had happened. Maybe Nigerian men at this time, just a few weeks ago, they were like, "Oh, do you remember when Nigerian women did this to us, when they were accusing us, attacking us, saying all these nasty things about us and all?" And for the first time, I stopped, and I really had to consider, what were they saying? What did they mean? by Nigerian women were saying this and that about them. And I realized that, sometimes when we talk about men, right, let's say there's a situation where a woman, her husband or her boyfriend cheated on her, or her boyfriend was abusive to her, her husband was abusive to her, right? So let's say that's the situation. When we analyze that situation as women, we say things, we write down things like, men feel like they have the right to cheat, or men, they want to take away women's power. They want to financially abuse women. We say men. But not all men are like that. And now someone would be like, oh yeah, here it comes again, the not all men. But that is the truth. Not all men are like that. And when you say men do this, men, you just say men and you don't make any qualifier, then a man who doesn't do that, he's involved in that. You're basically, it's like a stray bullet on him as well, because he is a man. So when you say men do this, you're talking about him as well. Now, there have been some, statements, people say things like, well, if you're not like that, then just walk past, because that means it's not about you. I'm not talking about you. But, if somebody said, women do this, right? Will you also, let's say someone says, women are all stingy, women are selfish. Would you walk past that? No, you'd be like, what do you mean women are selfish? You would go on about how you're not selfish, you've done this, you've done that, your girlfriends ain't selfish, your mother is not selfish, your aunts are not selfish, they're so giving, etc., etc. But if the man said, well, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about, the ones who know themselves, the ones who are like that. I mean, would you walk past that? No, you wouldn't, right? So I think I just began to really realize that sometimes as women, when we talk about men, we don't put any qualifiers. We just throw out stray bullets, that hit people. Basically, we spray out bullets that hit people. And so basically what I wanted to say is that, when we're talking about maybe some pathologies that happen among men, because yes, I know sometimes as women we want to talk about these pathologies, right? These pathological behaviors and all. But I just want to encourage us that when we do talk about it, let's say some men, let us put some qualifiers. Let's say things like some men do this. Some men don't value domestic labor. Some men need, stay home and they don't do any household chores. Some men do this, okay? And even as we say some men, we can also add, and I know that there are men who are not like this, right? And the thing also goes with men, if as a man you've had a bad experience or you've had some bad experiences with women, then you can say things like some women do this. And I know not all women are like that, because I think that when we do this, it helps to not, judge, it helps to not condemn an entire group of people. All right. So now I know maybe some men may listen to this, some red pill men may listen to this and think, oh yes, I'm also a red pill type of person. And well, I just want to burst your bubble right now. I am not a red pill person, okay? In fact, I wrote a book called Apostle Paul Was a Feminist, Volume 1, and the links are in the description box below if you want to buy it. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. If you do, please write a comment, like it, and share with your friends. Bye.